Well, hello, stargazers. This is gonna be a brief video. I have been struggling for the last couple of days to put this together. It's not been easy because it's dear God. Here in the United States, we are literally in the crapper, and somebody has set it on fire. We're in the loo, and someone set the loo on fire. I'm struggling. There are some really important things that I need you guys to know about how to navigate this month moving forward, so that we all survive this. But it will not get easier or more simple for sure. So we really have to think about how to manage this, right? And the image I want you guys to consider is think about and go look it up. It's really fascinating. Ants, when they need to cross a large body of water, for them, compared to their size, um, by themselves, an individual ant, it is impassable. It is just impassable. But what ants will do is ants will come together as a group, and they will form the equivalent of a human bridge or an ant bridge, where they all join together and create a physical bridge using their bodies so that the rest of the ant colony can get across. It's absolutely fascinating to watch. So I want you guys, when you get some time, to look that up. It'll make you feel better, and also give you something to think about in terms of how, from the beginning of time up until now and moving forward, we've managed to survive this long. And believe me, it's not because we're such wonderful, stellar human beings. Lord knows, as far as being examples of humanity, we have failed more than a few times. But still we persist, still we rise, still we move ahead. So go look for ants building bridges, making bridges out of themselves, so the colony can get to the other side of what is otherwise an impassable body of water, because that is where it's at, Jack. Okay, so quick thing. So right now, this particular video are just some side notes that I want to share with you guys. There will be a video separate from this, and we're going to talk about Jupiter in Cancer, Uranus in Gemini, and of course the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. And we're going to talk about what these things mean in terms of how to navigate, the evolutionary map in front of us, and get through this as best we can. Which is better than the worst we can, which is basically doing nothing but throwing our hands up in the air, saying it's inevitable, and oh, history repeats it. Oh God, please, just I'm so done. I'm so done with people who take an academic, intellectual approach to the life we're literally up to our nose in right now. Right, being academic and intellectual about this, acting like it's some abstract concept, is not helping. And at the end of the day, if you're not helping to solve a problem, you aren't doing anything except flapping your damn gums and filling up the room with hot air. Don't need it. Not helping. Not helping. Okay, so a couple things I want to share with you. Hang on to July. I said this early on. We were in one of the other videos. I'll put a link to it below if you want to review it. We looked at the charts of a lot of the cabinet members, and we were saying that Trump and Hegseth, for whatever reason, they're both getting hit this month badly. Right? They're taking some real hard hits. Trump in particular is getting hit with some really hard aspects that he can't get out of. Like, there's no way to recover from this. And lo and behold, because as much as we can see where these things might bring us in terms of an evolutionary trajectory, we are not seeing the vehicle that's taking us there. So while we're waiting to see what cosmic drama is going to unfold that's going to hit Trump hard, because who the hell knows what it could be, right? He rolls out the big ugly bill that has basically screwed everybody and their children, literally. We're about to watch a whole bunch of kids go hungry, and a whole bunch of sick and elderly and defenseless people struggle with medical issues that could have been dealt with, except Bozo the Clown and crew have literally just made it a survival of the fittest issue. So, and we'll talk about that in another video, maybe. I don't know how much more bad news we can stomach today. So just a quick note, right now as I speak, there was a flash flood in North Texas that is all over the news because it could have been avoidable. The deaths could have been avoidable, but because of Doge cuts, as a result of the Trump administration trying to be clever, Literally there was no staff. The people who were experienced with this stuff had all left because, God forbid, we have to pay out pensions, and all sorts of other stuff. And so basically there was no one there manning the ship that had any experience, that knew what was going on, and there were not enough of them to be able to warn people that this was going to happen. And the reason this is important is because this is not new. Apparently in that area around the Guadalupe River, or Guadalajara River, in North Texas, this is not an unknown occurrence, the flash flooding. It's just a natural part of the terrain. It's been going on for decades. People know about this. And when it does happen, they're always warned ahead of time. It's coming. You guys need to evacuate. Okay. This particular time, it's worse than it's been in 100 years or whatever. Like, it's been huge. But nobody got the notice because it happened overnight. 45 minutes. 45 minutes is all it took for this river to go from like a river to like a rise of like 35 feet or something. It was just ridiculous, right? And clearly took out almost 100 people in its wake because there was no one there. They were understaffed. They got rid of the damn staff. Doge cuts. Elon Musk, the South African illegal immigrant that has access to the White House and shouldn't have, and was, oh my God. You can blame Musk, you can blame the Trump administration, and you absolutely should make sure that every single person who's a MAGA supporter or voted Republican and got these clowns back in office, including some of these senators, just the nonsense coming out of their mouth about this, that blood is on your hands, buddy. We tried to warn you. What did you expect? We told you so. Okay. So with all of that said, what was going to happen in July? What was going to be the vehicle that brings down the hammer for Trump and Hegseth in July? Well, we've just entered July. He just pushed this big abomination bill through, which clearly is a problem. So I would imagine that there's a lot of that going on. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on with Hegseth, but he gets hit this month too, so we're going to keep an eye on that. Now, before I get any further, circle your calendars. The third week of the month. All right. So the third week of the month, like the 18th, 20th, like in there, that's when Trump gets hit. That's when we're looking for like something to culminate and end this, finish him, like the like the video game. So I did something interesting, or I thought it was interesting, and I'll put the information down below. So if you want to play along at home, you can set the chart up yourself. Now, whoever the senator was that had the magic minute on the floor, that literally kept the debate going until it was daylight again, made it a point to give us the very specific time that this debate on the floor that decided whether the bill was going to be amended and sent back to the Senate or just sent out as is and approved and sent up to the president for signature, made it a point to let us know exactly what time the Republicans, because remember, the Republicans control the House, they control the Senate, they control the presidency, they control everything right now. This is all they're doing. 3:28 a.m. is when they decided to initiate and get the ball rolling on this debate, assuming, of course, that pretty much everyone in the country would be asleep at 3:28 a.m., not watching congressional debates. They were doing this on purpose. So at 3:28 a.m., he not only gave us that time, but then he spent the better part of 6 to 8 hours reading every line in that bill. So there was no question about what was in the bill, because even if you can't read, he was reading it to you. So you knew. Unfortunately, by a very small margin, thanks to the Republicans, because they're the majority in the House, got sent out to the president's desk to be signed. So I said, I wonder if we took the chart for the time the debate started. We very rarely get these specific times. So I was very like, ooh, I wonder what we can find out. If we could set up a chart for the time that this debate started, what could that tell us? We don't know. These are all experimental charts. We've never done this before. Now, the thing about it is, when you do an event chart, you're literally doing a chart for an event from the beginning of the event through the life cycle or span of the event to when it ends, right? It should show us the series of events as it goes through. So the question with this, in this particular scenario, like, does the event chart for the bill debate show us the lifespan of the bill up until it finally gets voted on, or if the bill gets approved, because the bill is still alive at that point, it's not dead, they haven't voted against it, it's still alive, and they've sent it up to the president's desk. If the bill is still alive, does this chart show us the series of events with this bill, the lifespan of the bill, up to the time it becomes law. Right? So it's an interesting thing. We have this debate a lot when we're talking about doing event charts for businesses. Like, does the business officially start when you incorporate? Does it officially start when you open your doors to the public? Does it officially start when you take your first dollar? There's always some question about when the actual birth time is for an event. But we got a time, we got a very specific time, 3:28 a.m., July 4th, Washington, D.C. So we got a chart. We got a chart with a specific time. Thank you so much for giving us that. And I took a look at the chart. Well, my friends, here's what's interesting. So I have long said that this man is an imbecile. And I don't mean that in an exaggerated, sarcastic way. I mean, he is literally got the IQ of a 9-year-old. I'm pretty sure he's barely literate. He has a critical thinking skills of a 9-year-old. He's a toddler. There's something wrong with his brain. He's not a smart person by any stretch of the imagination. And even linguistics people have studied the way he speaks. And he speaks literally in short 5th grade sentences, right? Which is probably why his MAGA base loves him so much, because that's what they understand, is that 5th grade level reading thing. So he's not very smart and he's not very sophisticated. This man has bankrupted every business he has ever been in. And it's only because of the people he's been surrounded by that he's even managed to survive this long, right? So he's not the brains of the operation. He just literally signs the checks. So the other thing that's important is he's bankrupted casinos. These casinos are literally like cash printing businesses. Their job, you can't, if you're the casino never loses. You cannot lose money at a casino. And yet this man has managed to bankrupt 4 of them, 3, 4. I mean, all of them, all the casinos, he's bankrupted. Like this is what we're dealing with in terms of sophisticated intellect and critical thinking, right? I don't know how people are missing this, but it's right there in your face. So it's like hiring a babysitter, and every kid they've ever babysat ends up dead. Like, this is the person you want in charge of your kids? Well, we got this man who's bankrupted every business he's been in, and now he's in charge of the country's finances. He's going to bankrupt our country too. And we're seeing it. Everything the rest of us saw, and we've been trying to tell people, we're seeing it now. Told you so. What did you think was going to happen? Well, back to the chart. So I'm looking at the chart. The moon is hanging at like 28, 29 degrees, right? And the moon is, by the way, you never want to start an event with a moon such a late degree, because that moon represents the series of events or the life of the event. Well, at 28, 29 degrees, you're literally at the end of the rope, the end of the lifeline on this, right? So there's that. And I'm like, well, that's not good, right? So whatever this is, we've got a lifespan of like a month, which is literally going to take us through the month of July. And then come August, something changes, something huge changes. Now, you would think if I had done this chart early on before the vote was finished, I would have assumed that the vote would have been no, and it would have died on the floor and never gotten to the president's desk. Clearly, that's not what happened. So there's something else happening here, in theory, with the moon at 28, 29 degrees. Now, if we look at the chart, the very top of the chart always represents the final authority, the leader of the group, right? The adult in charge, which in this case would represent the president, because the president is the final say on these bills. I mean, he can choose to not sign it just as easily as he can choose to sign it, but ultimately his signature or lack of signature is what determines what the final say is on this matter. So we look at the 10th house representing the president. Well, the ruler of the 10th house is Aquarius, right? Or the sign ruling is Aquarius, which means the ruler, the planetary ruler, is Uranus. Uranus in this chart sits in the 12th house, conjunct Venus, so both at 29 degrees. So with the leadership in the 12th house, that doesn't look good. That clearly looks like there's something going on with leadership that we're not seeing, right? And there's been a lot of discussion about his cognitive deficits and this, that, and the other thing. And I've been saying from the beginning, this man has the intellect of a 9-year-old. There's no way he's masterminded all of this. Other people, he's the front man for the band. He's the David Lee Roth for the band Van Halen. Somebody else is the talent behind the scenes that's doing all of this. He's literally just the messenger and the front man, getting the message out, rubber stamping the papers, okay? And he's even said himself, he doesn't even know what's in the bill. Okay, so with his planetary ruler in the 12th house, conjunct Venus, something is weird here. Something is weird, right? And then it's at 29 degrees. So this literally gives us a month. This man has maybe a month And then he's done. So my suspicion is, if I'm looking at this chart, that within a month's time, which is going to take us to the end of July, beginning of August, his function and purpose will be done and he will be eliminated from this equation. Now, the reason we're going down this road this way is because the sun in a chart, the planet, the sun, also rules authority figures and men in charge, right? Or women in charge, but it certainly represents the authority figure in a situation, the leader. But it's not representing him, and it's in the second house. And the sun is conjuncting a couple of other things I don't have in front of me. But it clearly looked to me like somebody else is making these decisions, which makes all kinds of sense in my mind because he's not doing it. He's not bright enough to tie his own shoes. That means that the power behind the throne, the one who's responsible for all of this, that literally just gives him marching orders and makes him the messenger, they're the ones in charge, and he will, for whatever reason, this bill is very, very important to them, and he will have fulfilled his purpose, which means that he's going to be gotten rid of. They're done with him now. He's no longer necessary in this equation, so he's going to go. And we've got a month. So before the month is over, he should be eliminated from this process, and then we're really going to start to see who's been responsible for all of this. If J.D. Vance ends up in the president's seat taking over duties, you're going to want to watch who J.D. Vance is answering to. Okay, because there's your answer right there, who's actually been behind all of this. And it may not be one person, it may be multiple people, but there's a handful of people that are pulling the puppet strings and have been for a long time. But again, this suggests that we've got until the end of the month, and then he's no longer a consideration in this big drama that we're in the middle of. Okay. So that, in combination with what we saw with the inauguration chart, and July being a big hot month for him and Hexeth, but definitely for him because it's inescapable consequences this month for him. And now seeing what the vehicle has become that has brought us here, because now we're in July and we're seeing the vehicle that brought us to his suspected demise before the month is over, that's pretty interesting. So I thought I would share that with you. And again, I gave you the chart information. You can set it up, take a look at it. Listen, I keep saying we're going to get through this, but there's a whole lot of death and destruction along the way, right? And a whole lot of misery and suffering. And remember, demons, if you believe in demons and the devil, demons thrive on misery, suffering, and chaos. So if you ever wanted to know who's in league or handmaiden or agent of demonic forces, all you have to do is look at who is creating, supporting, and pushing for as much misery, chaos, and suffering as possible. Right there's your answer. Okay. So that's it. So the next video we do is, I'm sorry, quickly. So hang on to July. When we get to August, it'll be a whole new ballgame because he won't be an issue. And Hexeth is likely to have his feet to the fire and be pulled out as well, because the only thing protecting Pete Hexeth, is Trump. So if Trump's gone, the only shield Pete Hexeth has that's been keeping him immune from accountability and being forced to resign has been Trump. And if Trump's gone, then he's got no protection left at all. And I don't know what the deal is with those two, and I would be really curious to see what it is, why Hexeth is so important to Trump. We'll find out. So that's that. Now, so hang on to July. Remember, the second or the next to last week, like the third, if there's 4 weeks in August, it's going to be like the third week of August. That's when we're going to start seeing it. In the meantime, I will be doing a separate video talking about Jupiter in Cancer, Uranus in Gemini, and Saturn, Neptune together in Aries. And we're going to talk about the evolutionary demands of these placements and how to use them in our most sophisticated evolutionary sense to get through this, to navigate this. And the most important thing you got to know, you cannot redeem or help the hateful and the willingly and deliberately ignorant. There are people in this world who are so filled with hate and so filled with conceit, right, that they have to believe that they're so much smarter and better than everybody else. That, Jewish space lasers and artificial weather and, it's all a conspiracy, it's fake weather, never happened. You can't help those people. And the thing to remember is that when all is said and done and all those funerals have to be attended, all those insensitive big mouths are going to have to deal with the parents and the family members who've lost these people to a flash flood, that the deaths could have been avoided. So you wait, because they're going to have to explain to them why, fake news, fake weather, blah, blah, blah. The government did this, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't bring people back. And it doesn't protect us from this happening again. Okay. So, hang in there. Hang in there. We are in the darkest days ever. And it just seems like every time you think it can't get any worse, it does. But we're going to get through this. There's a bigger picture involved. And clearly we need to go through this for other people to pull their head out of their asses. All right. See you in the next video.